You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Welcome to the Real Men of Real Estate here on KCAA Radio. You can find us on your dial at 106.5 FM or 1050 AM. I'm joined today by Steve Malley, the president of Coast to Coast Equities and an avid land flipper for what now, about 20 years, Steve?
Yeah, over 20 years, 25
Wow,
years.
that's incredible. So we're going to talk today a little bit about how you can hedge some of the inflation that's coming and kind of stabilize your portfolios by investing in real estate passively. So this is something you've been doing for a super long time, Steve. You've shared so much with me in the past. Why don't you get our audience up to speed and just kind of tell them your background, like what got you started and what led to land flipping?
Well, I came out of the construction management world. So I was a general contractor doing custom residential homes in the Coachella Valley way back when. I ended up working with, by accident, working with a commercial agency construction management company, which if you don't know what that is, that's where you're a construction manager, but you don't actually build anything. You're just the owner's representative for other people.
Okay.
So you represent an owner who has a project to build. So there's a lot of owners out there that they don't have experience in construction, but they have to do a project. Maybe they're a corporation building a new headquarters. Maybe they're a religious group building a new house of worship.
Okay.
Maybe they're an HOA that has to do some kind of repairs. So you act as their expert. And so I worked with that company. I did public works projects, private projects. And I had a friend that I had known since the early 90s. He was a developer and I was a contractor, and we knew each other and we were friends, kind of professional associates. About 10 years after we knew each other, he contacted me and he asked me if I could help him and some doctor friends of his that wanted to build a building. And that never worked out. But what happened out of that was a conversation where we talked and we were both kind of looking at doing the same type of project. He kind of on the side. And he was kind of what he'd always been doing, which is this land flipping thing. And I was just trying to get into it. Well, after that discussion, what we discovered was he had several properties already in escrow and needed capital. I had investors I had recruited and was looking for land. Well, duh,
Okay.
right? And, you put that together, right? We got a project.
Yeah, right.
So we did our first project, and in the next, I would say probably the next 6 years, we did probably 45 projects together.
Wow.
And I had done
a lot of
some
projects
entitlement as a construction manager as part of our services, but that's where I really got deep in the weeds on it. And I ended up at one time I was the VP of a home builder doing acquisition and forward planning, but I got deep in the weeds doing the business on our own. And we've been doing it now, I say over 20 years successfully. Now it's not all been consistent. There was a time frame when in the mid 2000s where we just kind of hunkered down and waited for things to come back.
Right. Right. That was a really tough time for sure.
Yeah. But
Okay.
we had done well enough that we were fine. We just kind of retired for a while.
Always find something else to work on, I suppose.
Yeah, that's how I ended up in education, which is a complete accident too. So.
All right. So what were you doing for education in the early 2000s?
Well, what happened in January of 2005, my partner and I we talked on the phone, and we decided at that point in time, January of 2005, that we would not do any more new projects and we would finish out the projects we have because they take a while. We're talking 18 months, 24 months to get these things done. And we were looking ahead and saying, okay, this has been a really good ride, but we think this wave is getting close to the beach here and it's time to jump off the board. So we stopped doing new projects and continued the project we had to finish them out. And our goal was to get them all done by the end of 2006. Which we did. So through 2005 and then 2006, we finished and sold off everything we had. We sold the last one in November of 2006, which was a commercial piece of property off the 10 freeway. And then, of course, as you know, that tail end of '06 and into '07, everything just went down the toilet.
Yes, quickly
Oh,
too.
now, does that mean we're geniuses? No, I mean, we're really lucky, I think. We were sharp, you know,
Yeah, you noticed something, but you didn't know what it was.
yeah, there's something called a swag, which is a scientific wild ass guess,
I'm
right?
familiar,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
It's a
so
way of
that's
life.
what, yeah, so we did. And again, I have partners that are older and smarter than I am, so I listen to them, and they'd been through this rodeo before, and they saw some telltale signs, and I saw a few things on my end. I was going, these things are looking like, and at that time, everybody we talked to through 2005 and early 2006 thought we were crazy. They thought we were pessimistic.
Yeah, you're missing out on profits, leaving everything on the table,
Yeah,
right? That whole line. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
this wave's not good. We're cranking here. What is your problem?
Sure.
They didn't really understand it, and it just so happened that we guessed right on that one. And so we came out whole. Our investors came out whole, and that's how I got into education in 2005, summer of '05. I was told by someone I was consulting with. I was doing consulting work at the time, also, because we were ramping down our work. And I was talking to him, and in the middle of the conversation, we're at a Starbucks somewhere, and he says, you know a lot about this construction stuff. And I said, I hope so, because I'm charging you for this meeting, And he says, well, he says, no, there's a school, and it's up in Ontario area, and they've been talking about starting a construction program for about a year. I don't think they're not sure exactly what to do. They may need some help. You should go talk to them. So I just talked to him. It seems nice to give back. I figured I'd be an advisory board member. About 3 weeks after I met with the president of the campus, she basically tagged me with designing and developing the entire program.
Wow.
I did, which was amazing considering my only experience in education was being a student and really not that good at one. So I did okay, but I was never stellar at it. I'm not a true academic, but I designed a program, an online and an on-ground 2-year degree program accredited by WASC for a school. It's still running. And then since then, I've worked in a nonprofit university, and now I work for a for-profit private college doing the same thing, running construction management. So that's my education experience.
Wow. All right. You've been doing kind of a lot for kind of a while.
I have
the total depth of that. That's incredible.
Let me tell you the truth here, Dan. The business I have with my partners doing the land,
yeah,
gives me the sufficient time and the sufficient capital to be able to afford to work in education in a city like San Diego, which is not cheap to live in.
It's not. Yeah. Try to do the same thing.
Education is kind of more of a passion for me. But I honestly, I admire the people that do it full time and that's all they do. I just don't know how they do it.
Right. Yeah. So where are you teaching now?
It's a new school of architecture and design. It's in downtown San Diego. It's a small boutique school, 300-400 students, mostly architecture, but there's construction management, and there's a few design disciplines, product and graphic and media design and interior architecture and those kind of things.
All right. And what are your courses there? What do you
I run a bachelor's degree in construction management, which is all the basics. It's estimating, scheduling, and contracts, and materials and methods, and those good, typical things. And then I run a master's degree, which is asynchronous, online, and can be done in 1 calendar year.
Wow. And
it's not an advanced version of the undergrad. It is, think of an MBA with an emphasis in construction management. It is team building, team leading, project management, and decision making is what it is.
Really?
In the construction field. So we're not running through the basics of estimating. So if you come in with, say, a literature degree and as your undergrad, which we'll take, that's fine. You got a little bit of catching up to do.
Right.
Because other people don't. And actually the primary undergraduate degree for that program is architects. The reason is they're architects that go into the field and they find themselves managing projects, but they were never taught to manage a project. They were taught to envision projects.
Gotcha. Okay.
They're creatives, right? Their job is to see something that doesn't exist yet and put it on paper or in a computer program, and then pass it over to someone to make reality, right? You turn it over to the contractors to build, right?
Gotcha.
That's what they do. Construction managers manage the project, but what happens, there's all this overlap now where designers are being expected to act as project managers. Construction manager expected to have design knowledge. And so the architects and some of them are engineers, they'll come in, they'll take that master's degree to get that management side of it. And then that makes them more well-rounded and worth a lot more in the industry, because now they've got both the architecture and the construction management piece of the puzzle.
Wow. So, okay, you guys are really putting together a lot of pieces of that puzzle there. That's pretty fascinating stuff. Wow. All
Yeah.
right. So as a strategy, then you work all sides of this thing. How does that lead to the strategy you're doing now with the land flips? Or how about this? Tell people what is a land flip.
Okay, so a land flip. Well, we're all familiar because if we watched HGTV, we all know what a flip is, right?
Yeah,
We watch
absolutely.
those shows, and they say, okay, a flip is where you put a piece of land and property in, and then either you flip it while it's in escrow to someone else for an upcharge, or you buy it, you fix it all up, and when it's a little bit nicer and worth more money, you sell it to someone else. You don't actually live in it.
Right.
So
Yep.
it's a flip. Land flips are similar, except our fix looks a lot different. When we buy land, we buy it usually what's known as raw land. That means it's probably an agricultural or a rural type designation.
Something that's on the kind of outskirts of town, or maybe going to be developed
Yes,
soon.
but here's the key. Location's very important here. It has to be in the path of growth.
Okay.
So it's the reason it's still agricultural land is because that's what it was, and it's usually fallow agricultural land. Like we're doing a project right now that we're actually going to planning commission next week on. It used to be a turkey ranch 15 years ago.
Oh, okay. This is the Riverside project, right?
Yeah. It was, yeah. So the turkeys left a long time ago. So it's fallow, unused agricultural land. So we're not kicking out the farmer. At the same time, we're not taking over open space or, habitat.
I gotcha.
Stuff, right.
Sure.
So this is fallow agricultural land that we take over. It's on a major highway. There are tracts of homes on two sides of it, and a commercial piece to the north of it that hasn't been developed yet. So it's in
so it's prime. That's a prime spot. Yeah.
So we pick that up, and it's zoned agriculture, and it's 3 large parcels that make up this land, and each one you're allowed to have 2 residences on. So that's 6 residences. Now, what we do is we go into the city and we look at their zoning and their general plan, what they like it to be. And we look at the density, we talk to them and say, this is what we'd like to do. Does this fit what you want to do? We never force anything on a city or community. It's whatever.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah, we're not trying to push anything. We're trying to help improve them, right? Make a better community. And by doing that, also it generates developer fees and stuff, which supports schools and parks and roads and all those kind of good things too. It makes a nicer place to live. So we go in and then we will redesign it on paper, remap it, we'll break it up into a lot of pieces. So what was 3 huge parcels for agriculture where you could have potentially 6 residences, now all of a sudden you can have 150 to 200 homes on there. Each individual lot can be recorded separately with a separate deed.
Okay.
Right? So different owners on every one of those lots. So you broke it up into a lot of pieces. So and then we get a tentative approval on that, and then we will sell that land with that tentative approval to a builder or developer. So
okay.
The reason it's a flip is we didn't actually do any of the work on. We did a lot of work. We didn't do any.
You're setting up the scenario.
Yeah. So
we're gonna have to finish that when we come back. We're gonna have to break for commercial here, but we'll pick right back up there. So folks, if you're out there listening, stay tuned here on KCAA Radio. My name's Dan Reddick here on the Real Men of Real Estate, chatting with Steve Matley. Thanks, Steve. We'll see you folks on the other side.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Most mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station, KCAAradio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM. Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to the Real Men of Real Estate here on KCAA Radio. I've been talking with Steve Matley, president of Coast to Coast Equities, about land flipping and how that works. So Steve, before we had to go to commercial, you were kind of comparing how land flipping compares to house flipping. And
Yes.
what is the value that you're adding in a land flip?
Okay, so when we before we talked about, we take a piece of land that's, you could have 6 homes on, it's agriculture. We end up with a piece of land you could have 200 homes on, and it's not agriculture, it's a community of homes now. All right, so think about if that was a house flip, and you had a 2-bedroom, 3-bath house, and you acquired it, and then when you did your fix, when you went to sell it, it was a 100-unit condo building. Okay,
It's sort of a comparison.
a little bit of a ROI there, right? And that's what
Right.
it is. We go from 6 residences you can have on that 50-something acres to 200 residences you can have.
Wow. Okay.
So the value is obvious. And what the builder's going to do is the builder can now, they have to do final engineering. So we did tentative, they're going to do the grading engineering and that kind of stuff, the utilities, those things, take them about 90 to 120 days. Record that map. When they record that, that officially breaks that 3 big pieces into the 200 little pieces.
Okay.
That now are individual taxable pieces of land with separate deeds. So you can have individual homeowners in there. Okay, that's where the value is. And they can have, like, say, 100, 150, 200, whatever we do, 250, whatever we're doing on the site, whatever's allowed. So that's what we do. Now, if you drove by that site during the whole time we had it, and it could take a couple of years to get that done, maybe more.
We're probably not seeing any work happening. Yeah,
we have projects taking for 3 years in California. In Florida, that's about 9 to 10 months. Texas, that's maybe 6 months. I've got some stuff in Arizona that honestly I'm pushing through in 3 or 4 months. So it's welcome to California, right? So that's
right.
Here. But that's the value we get. That's the lemon that creates the lemonade. We make the lemonade for the builder because they didn't want to do that. They all can do what we do, but they rather us do it because we do all the brain damage for the 2 or 3 years it takes to do that. But if you drove by that piece of property every day while we had it and we're working on it, you would never know anything was going on. It's just an empty piece of land out there. It's got some weeds on it, and you don't think anything of it. And what you don't know is that behind the curtains, it's changing legally.
Okay.
And so we don't have materials, labor, equipment, contractors. We don't have that stuff. It's all paper. It's all reports and drawings.
So you're doing studies, you're doing environmental studies and
environmental studies, soil studies, lot studies, market studies, all these kind of things, cultural studies, everything we need, whatever the local city or county wants to approve what they're doing, to make sure that most of it's based on environmental impacts.
Okay.
Traffic, noise, cultural, water, air, all the stuff around it, habitat, vegetation. So they're looking at, and if you're taking fallow agricultural land and turning into housing, that does in fact change the environment, but it's not taking habitat, because that wasn't habitat. The farmers chased the habitat away years ago.
Long ago.
Vegetation's not an issue because that wasn't natural vegetation there, right? It's so you don't have a natural habitat preserve going on in there or something like that. You got to make sure you're not doing something on an old, ancient burial ground or something, or
other sacred lands and things,
historic or cultural. Like, we don't want to make sure we're not doing that, or a historic battlefield or something. We don't want to do that kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
So we make sure that's the place. Make sure there's no hazardous materials. Make sure that the dirt is okay to build on. Those, we have to find all those kind of things out. Utilities are accessible, right? And then the biggest impact most of those type of projects have, if you're doing homes, production homes, is traffic, because you're going to introduce a lot of cars into the area. And so you're going to mitigate that, widen the streets, put in a traffic signal, right?
Probably going
to impact schools. All of a sudden you've got, 400 new kids coming in or whatever, right? So you're going to pay school fees to build schools. And people I think underestimate people that maybe don't like development so much. They don't understand how much of that money goes into public education. It's phenomenal.
Really? You could talk about that just for a minute. Like, I don't even know what question to ask you about that.
I've done it depends where you are. Every jurisdiction is different. And there's a couple ways things go. The developers have to put in a certain amount of fees in order to get their approvals. And there's fees at the entitlement level, which is what we do. There's fees at the grading permit level. There's fees at the building certificate occupancy level, right, where you sell the homes. There's fees at different levels that go for parks and recreation, landscape and lighting, streets, schools, flood control, all these different things, police and fire services, all these different things that have to be provided because we're creating more people in the town, right? Now, offset that also, what the city's really looking for is when you get enough new rooftops, commercial entities like Walmart and those kind of Costco, they look and say, oh, look, there's enough people out there for us to build a great big place to sell things. And now the city gets the sales tax revenue off of that. They get the business tax, not the sales tax at the state, but the business tax, the business license tax. And the cities make a lot of their money off of that because most of the property tax goes to the county and the state. So the other place you get money is Mello-Roos. You're familiar with that term?
Yep, I'm familiar with that, yeah.
Tax assessments, right? So what happens is there's these bonds that are out there that will help pay for all these different improvements that need to happen to accommodate the growth of the city. And it's the homeowners who buy the homes in there that
end up paying for all the infrastructure.
Impact. That's right.
Gotcha.
They showed up with their
for new builds, people need to watch out for that. The Mello-Roos is going to be another tax that you might not expect.
But what they're doing is they're paying for the improvements that were necessary in order to accommodate them moving into the city, because they brought their family and their cars with them. And it wasn't just them, there was them and 200 neighbors, right? So that's a lot. Yeah, so what that does, it does help fund cities to do the necessary services, improvements they need to do.
Okay. So how much, most of this stuff is laid out. You go into a jurisdiction, you know what they're going to expect you to do for studies and everything. Yeah, okay. So
yeah, and there's different layers. So when you go in and you just say, you don't necessarily just get approval from the city. The city is it's a government agency, but it acts as a clearinghouse for a bunch of sister agencies, because the school district is not the city. It's a different separate agency with its own board, and they actually straddle city lines a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
There's a flood control district. That may be a regional part of the county. That's all that. There may be a separate parks and recreation district if the city doesn't run their own. Okay. There may be what they call landscape and lighting districts, which are kind of like miniature park districts where their job is take care of the stuff the park district doesn't want to take care of, like the medians and the sidewalk areas and those things.
I see.
Somebody's got to pay for that, right? All that little strip between the boundary wall and the curb.
Right.
There's a lawn and there's a sidewalk.
Incredible amount of details actually go into this.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then you've got not just, you have an elementary school district, and then maybe a high school district, and then maybe a community college district. And all of them are impacted. Okay, so now all those receive fees to offset their expenses for the infrastructure that they have to build and maintain as an impact. And that stacks up, it starts adding up. If people want to know why houses are really, really expensive, a lot of the money actually does not go to the sticks, bricks, and blocks. It goes into the fees and the process.
Yeah, and I've heard some numbers for a single lot in Southern California on the order of $250K in fees and things.
That's right. So that means if you're, oh my gosh, houses, $500,000 to buy a house. Yeah, but 50% of that didn't go into the house. But we can complain about that, and we all do. But
hard not to.
Look at the other side of that. You go to some areas of the country where they don't do that, and they'll put a bunch of homes in, and there's a single stop sign at an intersection, one lane, one way each way, and the cars are backed up for 25 minutes trying to get through the stop sign because they didn't widen the street. You'd never get down there on a bicycle or a pedestrian. You'd be killed, right?
Right.
There's no curb gutter and storm drain. There's just a ditch on the side of the road between the house, right? Now you got to build a little bridge to your driveway over the stuff. It's very rural looking stuff, right?
Sure.
It looks kind of schlocky. You don't really have sound walls along where
not along the highways.
Everybody
and stuff,
puts their own version of a fence up, and you got this mishmash of kind of tacky fences along there. That's why those fees are there, is to kind of make things a little nicer and make a better town and make it more
better schools and environment, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course you have to go through the process of getting permission to what you want to do. That's what the public hearings are about. And of course I complain about that because I have to go through these things and they're arduous. Right. They cause a lot of brain damage. But I also understand if you don't do that. You would not want to live in a house where you have your house and you put money into it, you hope it appreciates, you got your family there, and the person next door, they buy a house and then they convert it into some kind of an auto shop or something.
Right. Yeah. There's no code or anything like
There's
that.
noise going on, right? People hanging out all the time. Yep. And then across the street, they bought an empty lot. Instead of building a house, they put a little building in and put a strip bar in, right? So you don't want to live in that, right?
No. In fact, that literally happened to a personal friend of mine here in San Diego in City Heights.
Did it?
There's an auto shop next to his house now.
Yeah. And so there's certain,
it's a disaster.
The CBD place next to the elementary school, right? You don't want that. Mm-hmm. So there's certain things that are perfectly legal businesses and they have a right to do it, but they don't belong in that area.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, the two things that cause most commotion are churches and schools, which everybody wants in their neighborhood, but nobody wants to live next door to.
Interesting.
You want to live next door to a high school?
I never thought about it. I don't know.
How do you feel about living next door to a high school on Friday night during football season?
Yeah, it's going to be noisy. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of people. Yeah.
And good luck. Yeah. Okay. And then the people that don't want to pay $10 to park the car, they're in front of your house, right? Mm-hmm. And then how about the large churches? Every Sunday morning, every wedding, every special event. It's
right.
You can't get in and out of your driveway. You can't park anywhere. You can't get back and forth to the grocery store because it's packed. The elementary school was drop off and pickup time. It's a zoo.
Yeah,
so that's why they have to go through a conditional use permit process and get public hearings to get permission to do it in those neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. So we're going to take a break here, but when we come back, we can talk about maybe the next steps and how you find these deals, because I think that's going to be really fascinating for folks who are uninitiated. So thanks for listening, everybody out there in Radio Land. You can find KCAA on your dial at 106.5 FM or 1050 AM, and we will be back just after these messages.
Radio.
Hello, welcome to Fire Up Connect. Are you a small business owner? Do you lack the resources to manage your business? Is visibility and brand awareness a top priority for you? Fire Up Connect is a community of small business owners. We help our members find the right connections and the right resources to help them be successful. This isn't your typical business networking group. Members of Fire Up Connect are innovative, driven, and all about building long-lasting relationships. We work to identify your goals and understand what it is you do and how we can help you brand yourself and your business. Fire Up Connect is about creating business opportunities, community projects, educational sessions, and live seminars to help implement effective marketing programs for our members. Fire Up Connect helps members gain validation in their businesses, learn what challenges similar business leaders are facing, and access to subject matter experts on how to overcome these challenges. Fire Up Connect offers opportunities for organic exposure through our many marketing events, programs, and projects. There are 4 colors that make up Fire Up Connect. Yellow represents the back office and services available to Fire Up Connect members. Red represents Fire Up Connect's marketing and advertising resources, such as TV shows, radio, magazine book publication, and movie projects. Green represents Fire Up Connect's referral system, tracking incentives. And blue represents Fire Up Connect's donation, fundraising, and scholarship programs. Fire Up Connect members have access to monthly business sessions, price discounts on affiliated companies, and all Fire Up Connect programs, book publications, published articles for your business, access to Fire Up Connect scheduled webinar events, a photo shoot session, and a video production. Join us for our annual Fire Up Live seminars and gain valuable connections in the Fire Up community and boost your business. We believe in your business. We believe in what you do. At Fire Up Connect, we believe in you. Join us for our annual Fire Up Live seminars to gain, discover, and get fired up.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM. Hey, good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to the Real Men of Real Estate, here with Steve Matley and myself, Dan Reddick, on the KCAA radio, 106.5 FM and 1050 AM on your dial. So we've been talking about land flipping and how it compares to flipping a house. And we're going to get into a little bit about how to find these deals, but then also what's in it for you. If you're an investor, if you're looking for a passive play, about maybe how you can roll this into your portfolio as a good inflation hedge and other, hedged other markets. So, Steve, how do you find these deals? What does it take?
Okay, well, it takes time and a little know-how and getting out of your comfort zone.
Okay.
So you're probably familiar with when people come in and they don't know what to do yet, and sometimes people say, "Well, you should start wholesaling." That's where you start with.
Yeah, common strategy, absolutely.
And so wholesaling is where you go tie something up, you go find things that aren't listed at undervalue, and then you tie them up and sell them to someone else at a markup, and then they actually do the deal. You don't sell the house, you sell the contract, right?
Right.
But that takes a lot of door knocking and cold calling and digging into stuff, and you got to get out of your comfort zone and talk to people that don't really want to talk to you and all that kind of stuff to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Okay. We do the same thing, but on a different scale, because we're looking at different kinds of things. So we're not door knocking. You can't knock on the door of empty piece of land. Nobody's there. Some gophers, but they're not going to answer. So, what do you do, right? So what we do is we do what we call farming. So for example, when we went out to the Arizona market, I went out there on an initial hunting operation, and I started with what was listed as land. I start with that and say, okay, I just want to know what's there and what people expect it, right? And I find a local agent I can work with. Okay, I find an agent that understands that, and they're usually commercial agents for what we do.
I was just going to ask if they were commercial brokers. Yeah, okay.
More commercial, and they have to be commercial, understand land. And usually I like to find the one that's fairly new, fairly green, with a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm.
I see. Right. Someone who's willing to get the work done.
I don't have to untrain them, for all the crazy stuff, because too many agents, you try to say, well, this is what we're going to do. Say, oh, you can't do that. Sure, you can. I've been doing it for 20 plus years. Oh, no, I don't think you're allowed to do that. So you don't argue with them. You're just saying, look, just follow, we'll teach you what to do, follow along, and you'll make a lot of money, and just don't argue, right? So let's work together. And that's what we do. Okay. So we go out and we'll train them up, and they become kind of our partners. They become our bird dogs. Once I've done that, now I know I get to see where things are. Where are the schools? Where are the businesses? Where's the shops? Where's the roads, right? Where's the employment bases? Right. I get to know the town. I go visit the city. I meet people at the city in the public works and the development department. Those, right? All those economic.
Right. Try and check out how friendly they are.
Exactly. Find out what they like, what they're doing, get a feel for it. And if we like the area, then what I'm going to do is now I go back and I start finding pieces I like. I'll drive by while I'm out there. When I get back home, I'm Google Earthing stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm corresponding that with the county's parcel map. County parcel map has everything. I know APNs, which tells me where I can find the owners, right? Because I could track, I could do is track where does the tax bill go, right?
Okay, right.
I'm also looking at the cities or the counties, if it's unincorporated, their zoning and their general plan. So I find out what the land use is and the land use that they'd like it to be. And then, so I'm profiling this land. That's what I want. Okay.
So you're trying to figure out who might buy it, what the city will allow. And what's
I want land
take
for
to
houses,
get there.
or I want land for commercial retail, or I want land for apartments, whatever it is. I want it in this area. There has to be utilities, has to be access to it. I don't want crazy topography on it, right? I don't want vertical stuff. I got to build retaining walls and that kind of stuff.
And good soil that you can build on.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm looking for all those kind of things. And generally, if I can find the thing that's already got development on one or two sides of it, I know there's utilities. I know it's buildable. I know it's growth is an easy step, right? It's right there. It's infill, right? Yeah. So now I got to go in and I go into the title software and I find out where the owners are. Okay. And we reach out and we contact, and that's where I contact the realtor and I say, okay, here's the people you need to go contact. Go make the first contact. And we will do that by phone, by email, by text, by door knocking, by whatever it takes.
Okay.
to get in there. And
So
in a
track
general,
people down around the
yeah, not
country, wherever
stalking.
they live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not stalking, but a gentle
No,
way.
no.
The approach is, first we say is, we are not agents and we do not want to list your land.
Okay.
We're cash buyers, and we're interested to talk to you if you have any interest in selling your land. Right. And we find out a lot of times there are people that are sitting on land for a while and it's just kind of there and they kind of don't think about it very much, but they got to pay the taxes every year, maybe do some weed abatement here and there, but it's just there. And it'd be nice to get it out of there and actually monetize it. Maybe they inherited it, that kind of stuff, right? It passed down in the family or something like that.
Sure. They've got it and they don't even know why.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe it's an owner who owned a large chunk and every few years they sell more off of it. They sell a little more, and it's time to sell another one, but they hadn't listed it or anything, right? And so we go after at that. That's how we kind of find the land, and we go make the offers, and we try to do deals. We're not doing all cash 90-day kind of stuff. We'll be very long escrows, and we do the entitlements while it's an escrow. That seems crazy, right?
That's awfully convenient. Certainly, you don't have to acquire and spend all that money.
I've had escrows that have gone over 3 years long. Now, usually 2 years is about as long as you can get, but I've had escrows go as long as 3 years or more. That seems crazy. Most people think, yeah, how do you do that?
So
is that you agree to?
Right? So is that how you provide a lot of value to your investors then? Because you don't have to buy it up front.
Yes. So think about this: if I had to buy it up front and I had to raise $4 million to buy the land and another $300,000 or $400,000 to do the entitlement, okay, that's $4.5 million. What if I gave the seller $150,000 to $200,000 for the year and a half or 2 years it was in escrow, while I did the $300,000 or $400,000 entitlement, I raised $500,000. I got the same profit on the back end. So when I get the profit, I return $500,000 to the investors before I have the net profit versus $4.5 million to the investors before I have a net profit. So the ROI goes from 7 or 8% to 50 or 60%.
That's incredible.
Right.
And so,
those are numbers.
Simple.
Those aren't guaranteed on every project. Every project is different,
not.
but that is entirely feasible, actually.
Wow. Okay.
And that's the leverage. And remember, we're also doing the thing of, we took land that you could have 2 to 4 to 6 residences, and now we're putting a couple hundred on there.
Right. There's a lot coming.
Leveraging 2 different ways.
Right. So how can somebody who's new into this, how can they understand, how these deals work? Like if they want to invest in that, what questions should they ask you before they get in?
So here's the thing: if they have to decide, do they want to do it passively, easy way, or do they like be active in it? Right. They can do either way. If they want to be hands-on, they want to get their hands dirty in it. Don't go after the big deals we do. I think that's a good way to get burned if you don't know what you're doing yet. There's a lot of landmines out there, and it takes a long time to learn it. That doesn't mean they can't do a smaller version of it. See, they can go and look at the county's parcel map and find the place that has a single home on it. But when you look at it, hey, wait a minute, that lot could actually have 3. It's zoned to be broken into 3 lots.
Right.
So that means if you were able to buy that place, that house that everybody else thinks is just a house on a bigger lot, well, you buy that, then you go to the city and you break it into 2 or 3 lots per what you're allowed to do per the zoning, right? And you can sell off those other 2. You can build something on the other 2 and rent them, or build on them and sell them, right?
Right.
So you've done a miniature version of what we do at a much lower risk and probably more affordable for you. So you wouldn't have to raise.
Certainly easier to handle with a lot less regulation to try and get through.
Yeah, and you could do it under a residential mortgage.
Yeah.
Because it's a single house that, you're subdividing, so you can do it on a residential mortgage. It's not a big commercial thing. And by the way, land is nothing you're going to get loans on. Land tends to have to be equity.
You got to,
nobody wants to loan on land because land is one of those things that it's hard to foreclose on and get the value back out of it.
Sure. Yeah. No one's going to buy it to live there right away and everything else.
It's not improved. Yeah. So buildings have more value than empty land from that standpoint. Now for us, the value is, because of that, we can get the land very inexpensively compared to developed real estate and get it ready to develop and get double or triple the value of what we bought it for just by doing the approvals.
Right.
That's not true in a house. You buy a house and then you get an approval to add a bedroom on it, not going to triple the value of it. Some value.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand. So, all right. So if someone wants to be active, they can go and do lot splits, maybe even things like building ADUs on something or things like that to make rentals. Yeah.
You can go figure out, oh, look, I can put an ADU in the backyard and do a junior ADU too. No, I just made 3 things without even doing a lot split.
If someone doesn't have the time, or that sounds like a lot of work for them, how can they do this passively?
so passively you find people that already, so here's my best thing. It's not just about not having the money, it's also the lack of expertise, right? And avoiding the risk. If you can find someone that has the expertise and has the projects and you can put your money into it and let them do all the work. So when I do presentations on this, I show this big long list of what you have to do if you do a fix and flip. Acquire the land, go to Home Depot, chop your finger off, all the stuff you got to do, right? All the way down the list to sell it, all that kind of stuff, stage it. And then there's what you do if you invest in someone else's project. You write a check, you receive a check. That's what you do, right?
Right.
Assuming it all comes out right. Okay. So what you do is you find people, but you have to get people you trust. You have to vet them. So do they have a good track record? Do you know where to find them? Do they show up and solicit a bunch of money and then you don't see them again ever again?
Yeah, right.
Or are these people you have a relationship with and you see them from time to time around town doing different things? They come to the meetings, they do different, right? And you know where to find them. They're on social media. They have a local address.
Some people around town who know them maybe.
Yeah, you got their phone number, right? Those are people you want to work with. If they got a good track record, you check and make sure they're decent people. You look at the project and you have to vet them and you have to vet the project too. Does the project make sense? Are they buying at a good price? So for us, we won't do anything without a market study. See, I can go look at something and I have a really good sense for what might work, but I'm not going off of anecdotal evidence or gut feelings. I'm going to hire a third party out there who's a disinterested third party and pay them a fee to come out and do an assessment and tell me what's going to work here. And if what they tell me is what I thought was going to work, we got to deal, because now I know that's a market for that. I don't do if we build it, they will come.
No, that doesn't make sense.
I want to know they are coming, so we need to build it. Right.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to break again for a commercial. So when we come back, we can talk about the education component where people can meet more investors and trying to figure this stuff out. So that's absolutely fascinating. Thank you. So my name is Dan Reddig here on The Real Men of Real Estate. I've been talking with Steve Matley. Thanks, Steve. And we'll be back here on KCAA Radio just after these messages.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio Talk Show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, busy for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections. Hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Real Men of Real Estate on KCAA Radio. My name is Dan Reddig, your host, and I'm here with Steve Matley talking about land flips. So we've been talking a little bit, Steve, about how to get into this, how it works if you're active or passive, but you pointed out you got to get to know people, meet people. There's a lot to know. So where do you go to meet people? How does this work?
Well, there's a lot of ways you can do it, but I think the best, and there's blogs, online groups, but honestly, face-to-face is the best way to go. Look people in the eye, meet them, shake their hand, and you can do that best through real estate investor associations. Okay. There are real estate investor clubs and real estate investor associations in virtually every county and area in the country. Some are private, some are nonprofit. Now, I met you through one that San Diego Creative Investors Association.
SDCAA.
Well, here's what I'll say about that. When I first got into this, I told you I kind of met my partner and we did one deal. My sister was a member of SDCIA way back. This is the late 90s, right? They were meeting at the Holiday Inn in Mission Valley back then. I don't know who the president was.
I've heard all about that. I was never there.
Yeah. So I went to this meeting and she introduced me to an older couple, and they had money in their individual retirement account. They were looking for some place to invest it. And they were looking, because they were kind of late in life investing, they wanted something with a higher return. They were okay with the risk with a higher return. They needed to bump up, right? They couldn't do the 5% per year compounded interest because they're not going to live that long, right? So they were my first investors. To this day, they're still investing with me.
That's incredible. Wow.
25 years later, still investing.
That's incredible.
Only back then they were investing 5 figures with me, and now they're investing 7 figures with me. Okay.
That's incredible.
Now, and they told me that that project was the first one they had where they actually felt like they had a big win. And they rolled over with us to another project, and then they also took some of the proceeds and they bought some rental houses, and they bought some other places, and they have a pretty nice portfolio now. But the biggest part that I was the happiest about was that enabled them to finally sell out the janitorial business they were working so hard in at their age, still cleaning.
They got their out.
Sell that out because they had enough money in the real estate now to sustain them. So
wow.
Those real estate investor associations, that's where I first met my first contact, and I still meet a lot of people there too. And it's not just the investors. You meet the attorneys, and you meet the escrow people, and the title people, and all the people you need to work with to get things done.
Wow, that's incredible. So your team kind of comes to you, and you have all the resources.
Yeah, and if they're not
find the
there,
people you work with. Yeah.
If the people you need aren't there, there's probably somebody there that knows the person you need to talk to, because they're all kind of in that little micro culture of real estate investor.
Right. And they know each other. It's easy to vet people. Someone who doesn't work out isn't going to last very long.
Yeah. And the people that you see come to a regular meeting, if they're members and they're showing up all the time, they're probably a little safer to invest with, because you know where to find them. As opposed to the person that blows into a meeting one time as a one-time guest and tries to get a lot of money out of people and disappears. That's probably not your best bet.
Right. Some high pressure sales or high pressure investment type strategies are not a good deal.
Not a good deal. So, and you got to be comfortable with it. There's different types. Now there's people that have different temperaments when it comes to risk. So I vet my investors as much as they vet me. I do not want somebody's money if they're not going to sleep the entire time that money's out in the project. And I don't want somebody's money that if they lost it because the project went sideways, which God forbid, we hope not, but anything can happen. I don't control the universe, right? If it went sideways, it should not affect their lifestyle.
Okay.
So
this needs to be purely investment
funds. Money, their rent money, their kids' college fund, none of that kind of stuff, right? So I want to talk with them, make sure that they're comfortable in this investment and they have money to invest. And if it makes money, they're going to cheer. And if they lose money, they may cry, but it's not going to hurt their lifestyle.
So you're really looking for genuine partners on this, not just trying to solicit.
And I'm trying to build an investor family. Like I said, I have investors that keep coming back to us over and over again and have been with us for decades. Why? Because they trust us and we trust them, and it becomes a true partnership. So yeah, we have an investor family we work with, and I'm always happy to find new people to add to that family, because the only thing that limits the volume of projects we can do is the amount of capital we have to do them with.
Okay, I get it. All right. So this is also a place where people can not just network, but they can get some education.
That's right.
So I know that we offer,
and not just about land flips, about anything.
Any real estate strategy someone's interested. Yeah. I mean, we have our subgroups right now. We're working on some other classes at SDCIA. And so that's part of where your education background comes in, is helping us accomplish that. So.
Right. And some people just want to do the traditional stuff. Some people want to do rentals. Some people want to know how to build an ADU in their backyard. Right. Everybody's got different things they want to consider. Some people don't want to do anything. They want to be the bank and loan money to someone else to go do work, but not in a syndication, just loan money to another individual to go.
So like a private loan to maybe go and redevelop something. Yeah. Even to a flipper, they could privately lend to a friend of theirs who flips.
Yeah. They're an individual, but they're the bank for that job.
Right.
Yeah. And so you can learn how to do that. A lot of people don't know you can.
Yeah. That's not a common strategy I hear about, but it is a good one.
And you learn basics about, okay, what's a promissory note? What's a trust deed? What's a lease option, right? All these terms that get thrown around out there. You can go into like Bigger Pockets and they throw these terms around, and it's kind of like if you ask for an explanation, it's kind of like, oh, it's the newbie, you kind of almost embarrassed to. But in these investor associations, you ask stupid questions of everybody, and people are happy to answer it for you because they all were there.
Right. So they grew up in that same family. So it's a family. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty fantastic. So then the last piece of the puzzle is, what do people need to get into this? Is there kind of like you got to have a certain amount of money, whether you want a private land or you want to passively invest or.
No, actually, I have people that got involved. They didn't have money, but they knew some people that did. And they introduced me
So
to
they
the
built
people that they
relationships for
had
you.
money and said, do you think this is interesting? And we sit and have a meeting and we talk and that person invests. And guess what? I'm grateful. So what happens when I'm grateful? I'll give them a little referral fee. Say, hey, thanks for the introduction.
All
And you
right.
can start making a little money doing that. The people that are finding land for me, I have people out bird dogging land for me in different states.
Okay.
And they'll find land and send it to me, say, hey, is this a good prospect? Should I contact the owner about this? And if we end up taking that land, yeah, they'll get a piece of
They'll get a finder's fee. Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
we're going to have to wrap in about a minute here, but if someone wants to get a hold of you, they find a piece of land, how can they find you?
Well, they can find me at coast-2coast.com, coast, the dash and the number 2, coast.com. They can call me 951-809-9720, 951-809-9720. I'm on this channel, this station, KCAA, every Thursday at 3 o'clock and every Sunday at 2 o'clock with Building Solid Foundations. They can find me on LinkedIn as well. Just look for Steve Matley.
All right. That's pretty fantastic.
Or better yet, find me at the SDCIA meeting on the second Tuesday of every month.
Second Tuesday of every month, you can stop by SDCIA and meet us, and we'll help you build your real estate investing family. With that, we got to get out of here for today, but thanks for listening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. We love talking about real estate. You can find the Real Men of Real Estate with me, Dan Reddig, your host, every third Sunday at 1 p.m. on KCAA Radio. And thanks again, Steve.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station.